but it's good for my feedback for the end. That sound like a plan? Perfect. So just get yourself sort of set for me on your mat. Whichever way that you can just see clearly is absolutely fine. We're going to start with what we call the Pilates ABC. So we're going to work on some alignment, then on some breath work, and then on some centering. So if we start with alignment, all I want to do is stand up in what you would think of as a neutral spine. Having your heels sort of directly underneath your hips for me, and arms just relaxed at the side of your body. Just take a deep breath just to set yourself in that position. And then let's really start to think about alignment as a whole. Let's think about where our hips are. To do that, all I want you to do is push your hips further forward and almost like tilt them. I'm going to call that position A. Then sway them all the way to the back, and I'm going to call that position C, where your bum is stuck more outward. So you're going to tilt underneath as A, and then find C. And I just want you to do that a few more times for me. Taking that tilt forward into that position A, pelvis all the way forward, bum tucked, and then tilt the opposite way to find C. Now what you'll recognise as your neutral spine is part B. So it's somewhere in between that A and the C that's all the way back here. Find something that feels like you've settled into your neutral spine position. Shoulders back and slightly lifted, so you're standing in the tallest version of your neutral. This is what I'm going to now call as your alignment point. So this is your neutral alignment. Let's start to think a little bit more about breath work. Put your hands on the side of your ribs for me here. What's really important through your Pilates work is that we're focusing on lateral breathing. That means breathing that's coming out and in, rather than building abdominal pressure out, forward and back. So with the hands here on the ribs, I want you to take a nice deep breath, the type of breath that's now going to fill the side of the rib cage. And as you exhale, feel those rib cage flattening back down again. We're going to take a few of these, so just settle in, breath in. And out. Maybe focusing on breath in through the nose. Out through the mouth. One more. Do we all feel that? Do we feel that swell through here? So as you go through your training today with me, I want you to try and avoid breathing quick, shallow, out and in that will bulge through the tummy, and instead think about that extension through the rib cage here. Let's finish this ABC with centering. Have your arms back relaxed again, and all I want you to do is sway onto your toes and then sway back into the heels. And what we're doing here is we're getting a gauge of the centre of balance, our centre of gravity, where it's best sitting. Maybe do the same but side to side, so just a little shift into one foot and then a shift into the other. Nice. And as you settle, we're settling right in that middle point of gravity. We're not in the toes, we're not in the heels, and we're also not in A and we're not in C. We've found that nice neutral position. So now we've worked on ABC, let's start focusing on some mobilisation. Just start doing a little head tilt, just move it down and then up. And all of these movements through this phase, I want you to take at your own pace. Kind of acknowledge how things feel all the way through. And then just take a few side to side, closing the gap between your ears and your shoulders. Making sure that that neck feels long and that the shoulders stay nice, down and relaxed. Nice, and turn it into more of a head roll, all the way around in one direction, and then tilt all the way back in the other. And at all times, you're fully in control of the range of movement that you're going to use. That stands not only for now, it stands for the rest of your session with me today. Nice, go back to that forward and back for me, and I'm going to extend this. So if you take a look, every time you drop the chin in, scoot your arms forward, and every time the head raises up, you're going to open out your arms out to the sides and open through the chest. And at this point, try to find a range that feels like you're moving outside of what you would usually use. And if you wanted to, you could start to pick up the pace just ever so slightly to create a bit of heat on that contraction through the tummy, and then a nice big stretch forward, out and in. Nice. Just give me one more of those, all the way forward and back. Relaxing the shoulders as we take it into a shoulder roll. We're going to lift an arm up and then take it over to the back. Swap sides. What I'd like you to do is follow that hand with your eyes, so you get a bigger turn through the whole top section of the body. All the way out and around. Nice. And don't worry what pace your name's going at, don't worry what pace I'm going at. Just being tuned, is that knowledge? Does that feel quite smooth or does it feel tight? Do you have any little sort of tweaks or kind of crunching's quite common through the shoulders? I can see some people nodding. It's why we mobilise, we get them ready. Nice, just give me one more on the other side. Nice, and then from there, elbows lifted, have your fingers touching each other to start with, and I just want you to go into a little spinal twist. Now your heels are staying down, knees are still facing forward, as are the hips, and I want you to feel this through here, through the thoracic, so the rib cage area of your torso. In and out. And now if anyone would like a little bit more from this, feel free to extend the arms outward. So you could be here, and you could take that twist and have a little bit of extra heat added from the shoulders. Always give everything a go and see what works and what doesn't to pick your ideal positioning on things like your mobility. Great. Give me one more in each direction, whichever of those options that you're taking. And then you can place your hands by the side of your body again, recenter, and just take a side stretch, one side to the other. Let's just play around with that lateral movement, because we will be using it later on. So with the heels still grounded, it's about how far down each side you can bring the hand. And then what I'm going to do is add an overhead reach. So you're still sliding down the opposite side, but you're also just going to add a big open stretch on the opposite as well. Over. Maybe just one more on each side, opening up those sidelines as much as you possibly can. Nice. Bring yourself back to centre. Let's explore some hip movement. Just roll forward and then back, and then go the opposite way, all the way around and back. Imagine that you're in a box and you're trying to find all corners of it. The bigger we can make this, the better you're going to be able to train later on. But it's also a really good opportunity to kind of just explore the space. See how things feel. Lovely, maybe just one more. We're like, one more. Okay, let's create some bigger heat. Drop down into your heels, and as the arms swing up, I want you to just come up onto your toes. That's it. An opportunity to test that first bit of balance, but also to move a little bit bigger as we aim just to create a bit more heat through the whole body. A good opportunity to play around with different sitting styles as well. So some might be more further forward, some you might plant the heels and be more seated. Wonderful. Alright, and then set your feet nice and wide. All I want you to do is a little shift side to side. So drop in, and then drop in on the other side as well. Some lateral lunge work. Now if anyone would like a little bit more from this, you can actually keep your feet centred and take the step out, then back to centre, and then your opposite leg out and back to centre. Because that transitional work just gives us a little bit more to do, a little bit more to think about. Nice. There's one more of those on each side. And then a little bit of slight balance work. Have your weight planted into your right leg for me. Again, thinking about that nice toe posture. And all you're going to do is tap your foot forward and back. So all the weight is through this right hip. And then if you can, rather than tapping, leave it up. So this acts as a double whammy. We've got the mobiliser for the hip here, but we've also got our first little bit of stability and balance training on that standing leg. And the tap works fine, so if you prefer to keep at the tap, keep at the tap. How about if we take it across and then out? And for those of you that always work out in trainers, which is the majority of us, You might be surprised actually how much better your balance is now that you're on a complete flat. Or not. I might have just cursed this. And we're now going to fall. How about we try that on the other leg? Let's all start with the tap to start with. So left leg planted and that little tap forward and back, forward and back. Nice. Once we built up that little rhythm, how about we take it into the swing forward and back? And it's true, you know, trainers can make such a big difference, especially if you're used to training in like very thick-soled running trainers. They really do affect the balance. It's why we do things like Pilates barefoot, so you can ground down and you can feel exactly what's happening. How about we go into those side-to-side ones? So across the body and then out to the side. Maybe acknowledge if one side felt a little different to the other as well. Do you feel that? Yeah. Sometimes from a mobility perspective and sometimes from a balance and hold. But this is good, this is why we're here, right? Nice. Okay, perfect. So for the next phase, I'd like you to come to the back side of your mat just to give you've got the space in front of it there. All we're going to do to start with is something called a roll down. So you're going to tuck your chin into the chest and you're going to roll down. Once you get to the bottom, just let yourself kind of hang out there a little bit. And then imagine the string on the base of the back, and you're going to let yourself lift and unstack the spine again as you roll up to the top. Maybe just a little shoulder tuck, and then we go again. And there's no rush, team. Enjoy the roll down. Enjoy that little hand. And acknowledge while you're there the hamstrings. I know I've got quite a few runners, hitters, fusioners in the room today with me. So hamstrings are often a little bit tight. When you get to the bottom of your next one, soften the knees, and I want you to crawl forward so that your hands end up at the front of your mat. From that extended position, I want you to pike your hips up, and I'd like to find a calf stretch. So acknowledge where your heels are, and let's think about trying to press them a little further down into the ground in that nice high V shape in the hips. And then soften the knees, walking the hands back towards your feet again. Enjoy that little climb, soften the knees, and unstack the spine as you roll to the top. Nice, let's do that whole sequence again. As soon as you're ready, tucking in, rolling down, softening the knees to take a crawl out to the front of the mat, find your extended plank position, and from here, piking the hips, and finding a calf stretch. This is one of the ones I'm going to do again at the end, so it'll be interesting to see if we manage to build a little bit of extra heat and flexibility by that point. Alright, I'd like to drop down onto your knees for me. And we're now in an all fours position. We all feel a little bit warmer and more normalised as we head now into this main section. Good, I've seen some jumpers and things coming on, that's a good sign. So we're going to start down in this position down. So what I'd like you to do is have your toes tucked, and you're going to have the weight through your hands like this. So that extended position that we've just been in, we're going to maintain the use of it. We're going to take something called a single leg pull. Keeping the hips really neutral, I'd like to lift one leg up off the mat, drop it back down again, and then swap it over and lift the opposite side. Now straight away, let's think of some options. It might be you prefer to be down on forearms for this. If you've got any wrist issues or that feels particularly challenging to take in that high plank position, you may wish to be lower. And at any point, you put those little breaks in, okay? Nice deep breaths as you take these single leg pulls to the ceiling. Keep going, so let me have a look. And the idea when we're working through Pilates things is everything is, fairly controlled, fairly slow, fairly steady, but do we already feel the burn? Yes or no? Yeah. Yes, because we're holding those positions, we've got that more endurance feel. Well done. You're here just slightly longer for me, team. Stay with it, stay with it. And at any point, if anybody needs it, drop to the knees. Have a little recovery stretch, take the stress out of your hands. And when you're ready, you can lift forward, you can reset, And we go again. Is anybody concentrating on their breathing? No, it's not. Breathe, yes. So breathe, checking in. On a position like this, when you're holding, it's super easy to hold the breath and then do like a... So try not to do that. Let's try thinking about that lateral breathing, just smooth. You're centering here through the hands and through the toes, so you're completely grounded. And think about those beautiful breathing patterns in and out. It will actually help you control the movement as well. If this gets like too much, take a look at this little option here. We could keep a diagonal through the body. We could have the knees down. We could keep lifting that way. That works, right? That totally works. So thinking about what we need, we take what we feel we need and we leave what we don't. You're nearly there with this one though, nearly there. Breathe. Who came here thinking Pilates was quite easy? And now they're like, Give me one more lift or even out from wherever you are. Nice. And then if you feel you need it, just take that little bit of a break on the wrist in between. Okay, pull yourself forward. This time, I'd like your start position to be on your front here. We're going to take a movement called swimming. So I'd like you to start with your arms out and your legs out as well. And let's always be active through the positioning, okay? So what I mean by that is rather than anything being sort of like this, we're active. You've got a little bit of a point through the toes, or at least a flex, or something that gives us some activity through the legs. Now from here, I'm going to pick it apart. We'll do the lower body, then the upper body, and then we'll add it together if you want. So from here, one leg at a time, we'll just lift slightly off the floor, you'll drop it back down again, and then you'll swap that to the other side. And I want it to feel like you're engaging right from your hips. So your quads feel nice and tight and controlled. That's it. And you try to be as neutral as they can. So as you lift the leg, we're not looking at rotating the hips at all. Still want those facing downward. Same with the head position. I know I'm bobbing around all over because I'm keeping my eye on you. But you can keep that head facing downward, chin tucked in. Now if you leave the legs now, ground those in, and instead, one arm at a time, lift, and then lower, and then the opposite side, lift, and then lower. That's it. And how much arch you get through the back will very much depend on you, okay? It's how much natural back flexibility that you have, but it's also kind of the strength through those structures. Let's think about how we could use the breath here as well. So when you're laying on the front, that can be quite challenging, can't it? So tuning in, maybe sort of taking a breath outwards and then inward in support of the actual movement itself. Maybe breathing in and out. How about we try those two together? So we're going to go a pausing pattern. So if it was your right arm lifting, your left leg would be the leg that you had, and vice versa. So if it was your left arm, it's going to be right leg. Do we feel how that just kind of gets into the nitty-gritty of the lower back a little more? Are we feeling that? Mm-hmm. Good. Keep it nice and controlled. We want everything here to be quite slow in the way that we move it. Lifting and lower. Just a couple more on there for me. And because this is sort of classed as an intro session, a beginner, there is more levels to this, but for today, I'm going to keep it at this. This is absolutely enough to be picking apart. Okay, nice. And as we transition into the next block, if anybody wants to again, you can absolutely just give yourself a little wriggle, have a little stretch, put yourself sort of back together in between. We're going to do a side lying block now. So we're going to start this on the side that you would like to start this on. If you know you've got a dominant side perhaps, or just the side that means you can see me the clearest. You're going to have your legs so that the top leg is in front of the bottom leg. So you're not stacked like this, and you want a nice stable base. So I'm going to suggest coming here with the legs, with the front leg loaded over. Now all we're going to do is put the weight, all we're going to do, like it's easy, is put the weight in the elbow here. The hand will start on top of the legs. You're going to bridge the hips up, lift up, take a reach overhead, and then you'll soften the hips back down again, hand comes back down to the top of the leg. Okay? So we're lifting up, we're arching and bridging the body, arm goes overhead, and then we settle back down again. Beautiful. And this is a really good one to marry the breathing pattern with as well. So again, not holding the breath. Nice smooth breaths in and out. If anyone's not keen sort of on that arm reach, by the way, you could do the same thing but here. So you could focus only on the bridge and opening right the way up. But this time what I'd like to do is open the eye gaze, and as you reach, look at it with your hand. See what that does with your positioning, how that alters and changes. Nice. I'm going to let you do a few more. I'm going to come and have a little look here. So how much room can you give me? Just like underneath the hips on that bit there. Nice. Lovely. And this is really built up in somebody's elbow. If you weren't keen, you could absolutely sort of come all the way to more like this position here, and instead work like an up and a down. So what I'm really focusing on here is the arch, isn't it? So if anybody needed to have that little bit of something less, you could work something like this, absolutely. But if I've got anyone in the room who would like to try something that might feel slightly more challenging, you can have the weight in your hand rather than your forearm. So you could be here as your start position, and now that bridge comes from here all the way up and over on your hand, and then back down. Feel free to give it a go if you wish, you don't have to. Tried it. Nice. Ticked it off the bucket list, tried it.
I can't move once I'm up here.
Whichever option you've gone for, give me one more.
Looks like black colour.
Okay. Now put the next block in as a way of taking the weight off the shoulders and the wrists. We should feel like we need it. We're lopsided, so don't worry. We'll come back to the other side later. For now, I want to find a seated position. Now that might be here. It might be butterfly position. It might be cross-legged. Whichever you feel is sort of just a nice seated position for you. You've also all got a block. So if you felt like you wanted to, you could wedge it just underneath the hips like this, and that might make you feel like you're just sitting up a little bit taller, okay? So if you've got the block and you want to use it, feel free to use that at this point. All we're going to take is a spinal twist, because we can't just move forward and back and side to side all the time. We need to be adding some elements of rotation, okay? So let's start with the hands here. Have the elbows lifted, and as you twist, I want you to feel like the twist is coming right from here, okay? So you're twisting the whole body, opening out to the side, and then really smoothly, you'll take it to the other side. Just be aware of where the sticking point is for you. Might be the same on both sides, or you might feel like one side feels quite easy really on the turn, and then one of the other sides possibly a little stickier. Now if that sort of prayer position is working, keep it. If you feel like you might want to push a little bit further, let's go to here for this next view. For me, having those flat hands, I feel like I can just push a little further around with my elbow, which I find is helpful. And at any point, ladies, if you want to choose the position that you decided to sit in, please do, okay? This should feel like quite a nice working recovery after a lot of those more stability-based movements that we've done to now. And if anyone would like a little bit more, put a little bit more emphasis through the shoulders, how about we try that but here? Let's take that same twist. And you can focus on your back hand, so if you follow it with your eyes, it's a non-contact sport. Just remember. Take that spin around. Very coordinated. And are you all feeling that sticking point? You get to a certain part of the rotation and that's it. And what we're trying to work on is the ends of those sticking points. Nice. Let's have one more in each direction. And it's alright if your shoulders are feeling this as well. They're all part of the process. Alright, and then just relax, let those shoulders in. Let's maybe just refocus a little bit on our ABC. Even in seated we've got that going on, haven't we? Let's try and not be here in the posture, always nice and tall. Now whichever side you did on the side bend, we now need to neutralise that. So find your other side for me. We'll all start together with the forearms down. That's what we did on side one. So whichever versions and options you were going for, let's just make sure we keep those nice and even, if you would, for me, as we head into the second side. Remembering that the top leg comes over the bottom leg like that. It gives us a more stable base. Forearm underneath, hand on top, and as you breathe, lift up, stretching, and then planting the hips back down again. That's it. And it's nice, when I can hear the exhale of breath, that makes me happy because I think, okay, they're not holding breath, we're focusing on which part of that movement has the breath included in it. And we're settling into, we've got a few reps here. The idea is this is strength endurance. You always want to get to the point where you're a little bit shaky in the movement. And next time you tell somebody you come into Pilates and they're like, oh, that's nice, isn't it? You can say, no, not when it's done properly. No, it's absolutely not, thank you. Settling in. Deep breaths. Lift. And don't worry, we've got another block that comes after this. It's another rotation-based block. It's all about stretch and mobility. So if this is all starting to burn up, let it, because we're going to get the relief on the other side. And remember, I did offer some versions last time that if that became too much, you could be here, and we could instead work on the lift up into this side rather than the bottom side of the body. You can feel that though, can't you? If you crunch the side of the body up on this version, you can absolutely feel it. We're done flat, and then here. Nice. I'm liking what I'm seeing, ladies. You're doing a great job. Well done. And then, if anybody's up for it, if you try it on the other side, why don't we give it a go on this side as well, being on the hand. Even if we did one, let's keep everything very nice and neutral. You will find as well that this is definitely one that you feel is much more stable on one side than the other. You found your stable side, right? Yeah. It's humbling. It's very humbling. And who else is a little bit surprised by how little we're moving but how warm we feel? Yeah. Welcome. Welcome everybody to Pilates. It is very humbling because you can look like you're doing barely anything, but if you're doing it right, you are definitely doing a lot of things. How about whichever version that you're on, we do one more. How about we just do one last one? Look it up to the ceiling. And instant relief then, everyone went straight to there. It's an easy position. Now for this sore position, what I'd like us to be is more of a straddle position. So legs forward, and let's set them like this. So ideally we're looking for this straddle position. Again, if anybody wanted, you could absolutely take a little wedge up, and that might mean you feel like you can sit a little taller. So if you're used to using it in other classes, or you fancy using those, you absolutely can. Now from here, I want you to feel like your sitting bones are kind of almost like towards the back. So what we don't want here is a pelvic tilt, where the pelvis will be forward. It makes you sit backwards. So tilt the pelvis to be upright like this, and take your arms out nice and wide. This is a spinal rotation move called the saw. So if you imagine a sewing movement, not sewing with this, we're going to take a diagonal reach. So this hand is going to go down towards this toe, and I'd like you to pulse it for 3, 2, 1. Come back to the neutral position, and we do the same on the other side. 3, 2, 1. We'll keep that going a little while. I'll talk to you about some slightly different options. But already, you can maybe feel like one side is possibly a little bit tighter or different to the other. So just be aware, and also be aware that you can use your breath to help. In. Nice deep breath in, and breathe it out. Now we can slightly change that chop movement. Go to the little toe, to the big toe, to the little toe, and then back out. So you get like a 3, 2, 1 chop. Outside of the leg, inside of the leg, outside of the leg. Nice. And it might be that you want to use your other hand behind you. If you feel like you just need a little bit more support through that forward flexion, you can absolutely drop that hand down, and that hand could become a help rather than a hindrance. But if you're enjoying the shoulder burn that this is leaving in the floor, do we keep it? So you should be able to feel this is definitely more of a mobility, flexibility build. We're very much focusing on getting some length through the front, and for our runners and hipped people, this is very unfamiliar territory. Yes, agreed? Yeah. Yes. That's why we're here. It's easier in some respects from a lot of the stability training, but then harder in others because it's a very different training type. Beautiful. How about just a couple more on each side? Let's see if we feel like we've maybe built a centimetre or even a millimetre of extra stretch. Nice. How about one more? Try and keep that nice upright position every time you come to the centre. Nice. And just relax. How are the shoulders feeling actually? After doing that. Okay. So yeah, a little bit like hip flexors and things. Yeah. So this, especially if you felt like with the hip flexors, this next one is going to feel really, really nice. This is a shoulder bridge. Some of you might recognise a similar movement as a glute bridge from classes, but if you just take a moment to watch, I'm going to talk to you about the differences. So your start position is here. Hands are just going to be at the side of your hips like this for me. Feet are planted. So at the minute I'm grounding through quite a lot of my body. I've got a lot of contact with the mat. You imagine there's a piece of string right on the front of your pelvis here, and you start this roll up into the shoulder bridge with a hip tilt. So the first thing that comes off is here, and then I'm going all the way up my spine, one vertebrae at a time, to eventually end up here in like a ski slope. So my knees are the highest point there, and then I reverse it. So my back makes contact first, then move into the structures in the lower back, and then finally, my bum will hit the floor again. Okay? So sometimes when we do glute bridges, it's just about getting the glutes up and down, up and down. This is about the roll up and then the roll down. Okay? So I want you to enjoy this one. This one actually feels really nice. So get yourself set up for me. Feet need to be flat on the floor. That's it. Nice. I'm going to go here so I can see you off in the mirror as well. So let's start at your own speed, but it's fairly slow, this one, everyone. Think about the tilt through the pelvis first, lifting that up towards the ceiling, and
and then unstacking the spine, one section at a time, until you find yourself bridged right up onto the shoulders, squeeze at the top, and then gently returning back down towards the mat. One spine section at a time, all the way down the vertebrae, so you up hips, back in neutral, and you're up again. So up with the pelvis tilted, lift, 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 squeeze when you get to the top, and then release.
And that should feel like a smooth wave of movement all the way down the spine. And actually feels like a lovely stretch as well, a lovely mobiliser through all those structures. Just settling in, they feel quite nicely calmed. Feels very different for those of you that do glute bridges, doesn't it? Having to not really just focus on the up and down, really focusing on what is actually happening through the spine, up onto the shoulders. Nice. Smoothly up. And this is a lovely one to concentrate on some nice deep breathing as well. These look really nice legs. I can physically see the back going down and that your bum is the last thing to touch, so well done. Now this almost feels a little bit too nice though, what do you think?
Yeah.
Yeah? Should we add a little bit of heat?
Yeah.
Just a little bit. When you get to your next top section, we're going to live there and we're just going to take a few little pulses, alright? It's only about 402, so I'm joking. When you get to the next top section then, Steve, I'd like to live there in that shoulder bridge. And then just a slight drop and lift, just squeezing the bum. Lift and then squeeze. Lift and then squeeze. It's a very subtle movement because remembering we're not trying to drop the hips particularly low. Just a very subtle little drop and squeeze, drop and squeeze. Now I'm going to add some heat a slightly different way. Stay at the top, everyone. On one leg, I just want you to lift it off the floor and feel how immediately all the weight shifts into your opposite leg. Feel it?
Yeah.
And then pop it down slowly. Find neutral in your hips again before you swap. Feel the heat now in your other glutes. Keep those hips nice and high. And then swap again. Lift. This is another one that's quite humbling. If you're definitely sort of dominant on one side, you will know about it here. You keep going. Let's have a little look. So what I'm really looking for here is that when you lift the leg off, you're not having to rotate the hips. So if you feel that you are having to do a big rotation to get that single leg, please go back just to the doubles again. Do some more roll-ups, down and up, keeping it nice and steady, rather than having to do the rock in and out of your hips. Nice. I'm seeing some really nice holds here though, ladies. Well done. From the point you're at, let's do 4 more. So alternate, another 1 on each side. But don't rush them. Enjoy every second. And then just to finish this little sequence, when you've done that 4, give me another couple of the roll down so you're getting the full shoulder bridge again. So let yourself lower down. And then enjoy 2 more reps of that full shoulder bridge. Again, just giving that velvet, smooth style movement through the spine as you lift and squeeze at the top into that nice ski slope position, and then gently bringing yourself down. Okay, wonderful. You've all finished that section now, team, well done. So we're now going to head into a single leg stretch. So we're going to again be in this laid down position, which is quite fabulous. We're enjoying ourselves. One of the knees is going to stretch into the chest like this, while the other leg is out straight.
Now it's up to you whether you want to have your head relaxed down onto the mat at this point, or whether you can take that extra little core work and just have your chin tucked into your chest. From here, all you're going to do is swap the legs and catch in the opposite hand. Nice. Again, just a little lift and swap, lift and swap. And again, this is another one where we're trying to keep everything sort of neutral in the hips. So we're trying not to rock into the side that we're holding. We don't want to create that sort of movement. Keep everything nice and steady as you drop and stretch, drop and stretch. Nice. I'm going to spice it up. Every time you drop, give me a little double. Drop, drop, and pull it in. It's like a little mini pulse just right there at the bottom. Feet could be flexed. Might be pointed. I always feel like when I flex my foot actually, I get a really nice bit of activation through the top of the legs. It feels quite nice. When I say nice, I mean works. Which in fitness land is better. Now if you're quite enjoying this option, I want you to keep it. However, if you can handle something maybe that feels a little bit more challenging, you keep the chin tucked into your chest and your body upright, but start with the legs in a tabletop. You still do the double drop, but as you bring the knees back now, you're not catching it with your hands. So that means that you are in full control of both legs at all times. And making sure the knees are at tabletop. So when I say that, I mean that the knees are directly above the pelvis here, rather than coming too far in. Nice. I've seen some great options in the room, well done. Remember, you're picking the one that you feel is most beneficial for you. How are we feeling, ladies? Alright? Good. Let the foot just a little longer. If anyone could handle maybe something a little bit further again, from tabletop, let's go slightly further out for our start position. Remember that head-wise, you can have your head down on the floor here if you wanted. So as you're bringing the legs in, do you feel that having them further away as the start point creates more tension? Have we got that? So now from that, or the option that we've just done, or where we're catching, I want you to find where you want to live just for this last little training phase. You're feeling the burn? Is it there? Good. It's the little shakes, isn't it, that catch you unawares. Because you can't rush things, because we're doing it so slowly and controlled. A couple more, just on each side, ladies, just to get this section finished. And then so that we all finish as a team, let's all go back to the catching and knee like this. Just go back to that basic level, single leg stretch. Nice. Now stretch is going to be our theme now, ladies. The hard work from a stability training is done. And let's focus now on lengthening. So what I'd like you to do is have one leg flat on the floor, and it doesn't matter which leg, but pick a leg to have up in the air for a hamstring stretch. Let your body relax into this, because we're now holding these positions for longer. This is about gaining a little bit of flexibility, it's about breathing, it's about regrounding again. Take some deep breaths. Just enjoy this stretch, ladies. Enjoy. Nice. And then when you're ready, nice deep breaths. Just pop that leg down and take the other one up into a stretch forward. Nice. Keep holding.
If you can get to the calf, that's a great place to hold it to bring it in. And this is the sort of thing that we can work on in future sessions with things like straps and bands around the feet, really trying to pull in and work. So you can feel how these sections can become a little bit more progressive as well. Keep holding nice deep breaths into these stretches for me. A couple of us right at the beginning were saying that hamstrings felt a little bit tired, so this would be like a little treat, a delight for them. Alright, if you want to just relax that leg down, put yourself in a seated position. We're going to stretch the hamstrings this time as a double leg stretch. So let's think about our sitting position. You don't want the pelvis to be forward here. Let's tilt it towards the back. So you feel like you've got a bit more forward flexion now as you go ahead and reach down for your toes. You might get there, you might not. If we're not there, we don't worry. Hold wherever we do get to, because it's useful to have an anchor point to then pull in with. If you breathe into the stretch, what I'd like to do is every time you exhale, see if you can maybe push a little deeper. Gently roll out of that forward for me. And I'd like you to pick a leg to take across the body like this. Ideally with a flat foot on that opposite side for me. And your opposite hand takes the top of the knee. Now naturally sort of maybe a little bit like this. So let's focus on an upright and using the back hand like an anchor, just turn into it. And we're just going to hold this really nice spiral position. So because we're holding it, let's see about opening into the chest. Push your shoulders back. And keep it so that it feels quite dynamic. You haven't got a set position and then you're freezing. You found a set position that feels like a stretch, and then you're constantly and consistently trying to move further into it. Nice. And then how about we do that on the other side? So just unfold the legs, nice straight leg out to the opposite side, trying to plant the foot flat on the floor here, anchor it in, and then turn towards the opposite side. Take another deep breath into that stretch. And then find your favourite seated position for a side stretch. So I like to be cross-legged, but you could be wherever you wanted. Hand down, and then reach all the way across to the opposite side. And you can be all quite secure in this side stretch. Sometimes in lateral it feels a little bit fragile, but because the hand's there, you've got a little bit of extra stability. So really do try and push into that side bend for me. Feel nice and good tight, it's just releasing down the side here, the back of the shoulders. Nice, and then swap that over to the other side. I can definitely tell that most of the time I move around quickly, because to slow myself down to do this, I'm feeling things that I maybe either don't feel usually or I don't tune into properly. And I'm going to help to release the glutes a little bit further down with a figure 4. So have your feet outwards like this, and then one of your ankles is going to be placed on the opposite knee. Now if you can already feel that as a stretch through here, if the hips are quite tight, leave it there. But if you can, you're going to slide the bottom leg in, and have that knee relaxed as far out as it'll go. That's where that number 4, figure 4 comes from. The back hands are just held there to anchor in. And if you wanted, if you can get there, your bum can come right the way to that front heel. That all depends on hip turnouts and things like that. It's like quite a nice release in the bum cheek though, down the side of the legs. And then just reset that for me. So let's start with both legs out straight. And whatever sort of angle and version you went for on the first leg, please just keep it the same. Let's keep a nice little bit of symmetry. So the ankle is relaxed just above the knee. If that's a stretch, keep it there. But if you can, you're sliding the bottom leg in. And then just like before, if you could or if you wanted to, bum goes right next to the front heel. These sorts of kind of lateral stretches where you're sort of taking legs out to the side and things. I know a few of you have had tight hips in the past, so things like sciatica where you feel like flare-ups. Stretches like that actually really help the muscles in the glutes as well. There we go. Let's release the tension out of that. And I'd like to transfer now to all fours. The hands will be under the shoulders, knees are directly under the hips. You're in almost like a box shape, like this. From here, I just want you to pick an arm, and with the palm facing upwards towards the ceiling, thread the arm right underneath. And once you've got to the point, if you can, where the shoulder is on the floor, relax in, and then your front arm, stretch that as far forward as you can as well. Getting that full rotation position through the whole stretch. Oh, this looks really nice. Ladies, well done. That's it. Don't worry if you feel like your bum's stuck right up in the air. At this point, the focus of this is the rotation. We're not too worried about the low hip position, so let those bums be nice and high to the ceiling. And then we'll do that to the other side. So just reset first of all, find your box position, and then from there, thread, palm facing upwards towards the ceiling. Once the shoulders found the ground, walk that front hand forward. Good opportunity on this one again, ladies, to take those nice deep breaths. Working into the stretch for me. And once you've landed in what you feel like is the biggest stretch, remember even from that point, we're not completely static. Feel free to be a little bit dynamic, trying to find and explore a little bit more space for me if you can. And then we're going to go back now to one of the first things that we did during your prep. Your hands are underneath your shoulders, toes are tucked, and I want you to pack your hips and find me a calf stretch. We're holding it for longer this time. The idea is that we're trying to press down just a little bit further than we managed in that first phase. So hips are really nice and high. Keep holding that, look at those heels. Could you find me a millimetre? You get those heels just a tiny bit further down. I have to say, some of you are looking a lot better actually than the initial sort of prep phase. Those stretches are doing well. Nice. And then soften the knees, walking the hands back towards your feet, and enjoy this hamstring stretch as well here. Now this hanging stretch means that gravity kind of gives us a little bit of a helping hand. If anyone's like doubled over, hands are easily on the floor, do me a favour, put your hands on your elbows instead and let the weight of your body drive it down. You could play around a little bit with the sway side to side if you wish. And then soften into the legs,
rolling gently up. Remember that roll-up position that we practiced? One stacked vertebrae at a time.
And we're going to finish how we began. So find your feet right underneath your pelvis. And I want you to think about your alignment. So let's play around again. We have A, we have C. Moving the pelvis. And you might actually find that that pelvic tilt actually feels a little bit freer now as well. Nice. Settle yourself in that V position. Find neutral spine. Slightly soften the knees, arms out. And let's place our hands on the outside of the ribs and take some nice deep breaths, focusing on that breath laterally out into the ribs, expand, and then drop. Nice. You can even close down the eyes for me at this point. Focus on the breathing. Be aware of any little sways in the body as you're trying to stay in that alignment position, and how the body is constantly trying to recenter. One more breath. Nice. And take those little sways back and forth. Again, maybe at this point you want to keep the eyes closed, really tune into what the body's doing. Maybe a little bit of side to side. And then find what you think is right in the middle. Think about the alignment of the pelvis. Take a nice deep breath and open your eyes as you find dead center.